Hi, I'm Ian from Whiteman & Parish and welcome to this training video where we're going to take you through and explain COSH awareness. So what is COSH? Well, COSH is the control of substances hazardous to health. In our workplace environment, you may well have chemicals that you either come into contact on a regular basis with or infrequently. And it's the safe use and practice with those chemicals that we are concerned with today. And COSH regulations state that anybody who is an employee who has access to or chemicals on premises must be COSH aware. To keep you safe, it's important that you know about where the COSH regulations are kept. In this instance, and in most instances, they will be kept in a COSH folder. It's a legal requirement that you know where this COSH folder is at all times. And you have access to this 24 hours a day. So what's kept in the COSH file? Well, several things. And that depends on your premises and place of work. But certainly what will be kept in the COSH file are safety data sheets. And no matter what chemical turns up on premises, it will have a safety data sheet with it. Lots of information is kept on safety data sheets, but two parts of it are really quite important for you. Section 4 and Section 8. I'll talk about those later on, but for now, Section 4 tells you about first aid. So when we talk about first aid, one of the questions I need to ask you now is, where's your nearest hospital with A&E? Because if there's ever an accident, and let's hope there isn't, but if there is, with a chemical, then you're going to be dialing in some instances 999 if it's serious enough for paramedic intervention. On average in the UK, it takes between 8 and 10 minutes for an ambulance to arrive at your place of work, as an average. And in that 8 to 10 minutes, it's important that you, in an emergency with a chemical, where there's been an accident, have access to the file, i.e. know where the COSH file is kept, and have access to Section 4, which will be first aid treatment. I'm now going to talk to you about PPE. Many of you may be familiar with PPE. It stands for Personal Protective Equipment, and it's such things as goggles, eye protection, head coverings, gloves, aprons, or even uniforms. So if the company provides such a PPE, it's always a best practice for you to wear and keep yourself safe at all times. One of the things that you need to be aware of is that chemicals that we use in the workplace may look, sound, or even smell a little bit like the chemicals that we will buy for our household environment, but they're going to be industrial, so a lot stronger. I'm now going to talk to you about hazard warning signs, and I'll skip through these, and as I do I'll explain a little bit about each one. But something to be aware of is that these are standard all over Europe. So whether it's on a container, on a chemical cupboard, or whether it's on just the side of a bottle, they're all the same. So first up are harmful and irritant. You'll find these on a lot of chemicals, certainly that you may well be using in your workplace. And depending on your skin type, if you were to get it on your skin, it may cause redness or itching. Next up is oxidizing agent. Now this is predominantly found on compressed gas cylinders. So if a client would have oxygen requirements, certainly you would find this symbol. Corrosive. Well, corrosive is quite a nasty chemical. And you would find this on commercial kitchens and commercial laundry areas. Corrosive, should you get it spilt onto your clothing, would certainly start to break down your materials of your clothing. If you get it on your skin, it's certainly going to damage your skin. And worse than that, if you were to accidentally get it into your eyes, unfortunately this may cause blindness. Worst of all, if you were to ingest this with corrosive chemicals, it's going to cause you serious health implications. You should seek immediate attention. Next up is flammable and highly flammable. Well, a lot of you will recognise this symbol on the signs of aerosol cans. So we're thinking about such environments as air fresheners, deodorant cans, hairsprays, and maybe perfumes as well. Because they're flammable and highly flammable, aerosol cans, if left to reach a temperature of, say, above 55 degrees C, may have the potential to explode and cause serious injury. Next up is harmful to the environment. And to be fair, a lot of the chemicals that we use on a regular basis would have the potential to cause harm if accidentally spilled into a watercourse such as stream, river, lake, etc. But those that are particularly harmful would display this symbol. Lastly, we have toxic and very toxic. Well, as the symbol suggests, this is very, very serious. This chemical, if it has this symbol, would certainly have the potential to cause death. Exposure routes. So how is it going to affect us? Well, first up is the most obvious, it's ingestion, i.e. we swallow the stuff, and that will harm us obviously. Injection, well perhaps you have, say, a paper cut and you go to touch a surface which has chemical residue on it, and therefore it almost immediately goes into your bloodstream. Inhalation is breathing in, and some chemicals, as we know with such items as oven cleaner, have a very strong smell, and when we breathe it in, it starts to affect us internally. Skin contact, well that's simple. That means your skin, without PPE, say gloves wearing, would have contact with your chemical and would start to absorb through the skin and harm you in that way. As I've mentioned before, all chemicals that arrive at your place of work will be clearly labelled. The bottle or container will have a label on it that tells you information about the chemical stored within. Also, as I mentioned before, you have a safety data sheet which will also come with that chemical and contain very important information about the constituent parts of the chemical involved. But what happens if we take that chemical and we place it into an unmarked container? Well, unfortunately, every year this happens, and in most instances this just results in confusion. But in more serious cases, it can end up in serious health issues or even potentially death. The most severe of this was probably back in 2003, when a small nursing home was successfully prosecuted when they took a chemical and put it into an unmarked container. In this instance, it was a drinks jug. This was later confused as a fruit juice and given to residents, which, again, unfortunately resulted in 4 deaths. Mixing chemicals, never a great idea. Again, what are the results going to be? We just don't know. So it's really great practice not to do it in the first place. And by this, I mean, do we go out with the intention of taking one chemical or another and pouring them into the same container? Well, that's unlikely, but it's more likely that we'd do it inadvertently. To give you an example of a household accident, potentially you could get bleach to go and clean a toilet, and then without flushing to wash the chemical thoroughly away, potentially you would then get a toilet cleaner. By using these two simple household ingredients, you can cause chlorine gas. Again, mixing chemicals, not a good idea, best avoided. So are you liable? Well, yes you could be. Depending on the situation, if you're found to be negligent, i.e., and another example, leaving chemicals around where vulnerable people have access to them, yes, you could be found liable if there's an access to the chemicals you were using. Here are the 10 golden rules of KOSH. Follow these and you'll always be adhering to best practice. Number 1, be sure to read the labels and follow the instructions. 2, use the correct PPE. 3, don't mix chemicals, it's dangerous. 4, don't put chemicals into containers that have been used for other things. 5, don't put chemicals into unmarked containers. 6, be sure you know what first aid treatment is required for that chemical in case there's an accident. Remember the safety data sheet. 7, store chemicals safely and separately if needed. 8, report damaged containers or spills to a supervisor or line manager. 9, always follow the safety rules, and again, refer back to the safety data sheet if needed. And 10, just report anything that you think is wrong, either to your supervisor or to line manager. So in summary, here's what we do. First of all, read the label. The label will tell you plenty of useful information about the chemical. Unsure? Check with the safety data sheet. Read the KOSH file, or more importantly, know where the KOSH file is. That'll tell you all important information concerning chemicals. Wear the correct PPE. It'll keep you safe at all times when handling chemicals. Be aware, and finally, be safe. Thanks for watching.